Mics are hot, gentlemen.
Welcome to The Drive. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is a morning show for us here today, Matt.
Yeah, we're switching it up.
Kind of rushing around here. And the reason we're on this morning is because Omar Khan will speak this afternoon. Of course, I'll be writing that for Steelers.com.
You guys had quite the puzzle to put together of who's going to be on the air where and who has to be at the podium and who has to be with Omar. And so we did a blitz for drive straight-up trade, basically.
Yes, and
they won that deal.
I think they did. You know, they've won at life, but and here we are. Trying to get signed into the I was a little late getting here.
Scattering a little bit
I
here,
got to pull back the curtain here a little bit. So
okay.
I've got a blister on my foot that might be the most painful blister I've ever had in my life. And let me tell you,
I felt bad for you walking to dinner last night. It seemed like that's when it started to really peak up.
Yeah. That's when I had taken my shoe off when we went back to the hotel, and I was writing my stories and stuff for
after
yesterday.
our 4 o'clock show.
I knew there was something wrong in there. It was hurting. It was sore. And then I took my shoe and my sock off, and I'm like, oh my.
You had a mess there, huh?
And so I started working on it a little bit, and that just made it worse.
How's today?
Not
we
good.
did a lot of walking last night.
Not good at all.
Yeah.
But I am here, and I'll persevere, and I
fight through it.
I now have some Band-Aids that I can put on it.
You were questionable there for a minute, but I think your game time decision.
I was rushing around trying to make sure. I'm on the air the next 4 hours.
Oh, right. You don't have any downtime.
That takes us through lunchtime.
Okay. I'm on
so
till
I
midnight,
also had to go get something
noon,
to eat here before we because I can't
It can be a challenge here, to be very honest with you.
No doubt.
Finding a sandwich here and there or whatever. Yeah, without question.
No doubt. But
we got a different environment here now, though.
Yeah,
we got players ready to work out.
We're going to start having some measurements, all that kind of stuff.
Huh? I mean, I would think that we got.
They should be coming out here, yeah, because they did those this morning.
They're in the books.
Yeah, and we'll see what I'm still trying to get signed on NFL.
Do you? Don't be telling everybody the secret password.
I'm now connected. There we go. Now I can actually know what's going on because I didn't have any time to look this morning about what's going on, other than the fact that Bill Hillgrove, my good friend, is retiring.
Yeah, maybe we should just start
there. After 30 years, with
unbelievable
the Steelers.
run and great guy and all those good things.
Tremendous person. I can't say enough good about Bill Hillgrove. He just and Jerry Dulac and I will have him on in the 12 o'clock hour today to talk about his retirement after 30 years as the voice of the Steelers.
I mean, that's amazing.
I always joke with him. I said, "You're the voice of God."
Yeah.
Like, you get on the tram at the airport.
Oh.
And
he can't go anywhere.
And there's Bill's voice on there. And I've gone out with him. Just walking around the different cities that we go to and stuff, and everybody recognizes Bill. And if they don't recognize Bill,
as soon as he speaks, I bet.
As soon as he speaks, they know who it is.
I know that voice.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Just
he's amazing.
A classy guy. When you watch him interact with fans on the road, that's when he's humble. He's engaging with everybody, and I've tried to use that as my guidelines. No, I don't get recognized nearly as much as him,
of course.
But you try to be gracious with people, no matter the circumstance, and he is that.
Yeah.
And just a tremendous person, and gonna miss him on the road. I really am.
I mean, true Pittsburgh legend. Like a Stan Savran or Myron or right.
He might be on the
on Mount Rushmore. The Mount Washington Rushmore. I mean, honestly, I'm 50 years old, and he's pretty much what I remember.
Yeah. The 30 years with the Steelers, it's been even longer as the voice of Pitt. It's just, it's the passing of an era.
Yeah. He used to travel with us at Pitt, of course, and, always a good time with him, of course, and amazing career.
Just a genuine human being. And,
that's big news though. It's huge Pittsburgh news, not even
really
sports
is.
news.
Yeah,
Steelers news.
It really is. Right. And like I said, I'm gonna miss him greatly on the road. He is one of a kind and just a great person.
Of course, wish him the best in what's next. You know?
And I haven't had a chance. I didn't want to text him this morning or anything like that.
I bet he's got actually 1,000 of them, right?
actually texted him last night
Oh,
while we were out.
Yeah.
Before and he didn't say anything to me. I'm gonna yell at him a little bit about this, but
we got news last night that it was coming down the pike, basically.
Yeah. That's the way it goes. So you had a little news there when I sat down. You said there was.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, it's not official from what I've been gathering. I keep checking my phone here at a little after 10 a.m. But like Vegas odds went crazy. You can't make any money with Justin Fields going to Atlanta anymore. It sounds like it sounds like he's going to be a Falcon, but the compensation has not yet been released. Basically, is what's going on. So
Yeah.
Between the break, I'm going to dig in more, see what they gave up. I think it makes sense. I mean, I think Atlanta was kind of in a tough spot. I mean, Ritter's not the guy, and
No.
And they've it's an Arthur Smith thing too, but they've pretty much gone 3 years in a row with like the least accurate quarterbacks in the league. Now Fields doesn't
fix that.
Doesn't fix that part, but at least he's a better football player than end of career Matt Ryan, Mariota, Ritter. Heineke, I think, was the backup, right?
Yeah.
He got in there some, too, because Ritter just got benched. So they've had as bad a quarterback situation as there's been. New coach, new system. I don't know if they're going to be running a Rams-like offense. I mean, I don't know that he's a McVay-type quarterback, but still, he's definitely a playmaker. It's his hometown in a dome. The speed factor, I think, is something that's real. They now have 4 legit playmakers on offense behind a good offensive line.
Yeah, that's the big thing for them.
That's a big thing, yeah. And frankly, I hope he does well there, but I'm not brokenhearted from a Steeler standpoint that he's not coming to Pittsburgh, to be honest with you. I mean, we'll see what the compensation is. I doubt it's like a 4th-round pick, but so I think the Steelers are in a better shape not going down that avenue the more I thought about it.
By the way, happy Leap Day.
That's Leap Day,
It's
huh?
Leap Day.
Yeah, that's a fun little thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Happy Leap Day to all.
I didn't realize that. It's February 29th.
It doesn't happen very often, yeah.
Once every 4 years.
Yeah. It isn't a random thing. Yeah.
No, it is not. The
Halley's Comet or something, right?
No, the Caesarean calendar.
Yeah.
This is how it works. So Justin Fields doesn't look like he will be. I didn't think it was going to happen.
I didn't either. I'm sure you kick the tires and you have that discussion inside the building.
Oh, yeah.
But
You always talk
that,
about
right.
those things, but that doesn't mean that you act upon them.
No. I mean, again, I can't wait to see the compensation, but let's just say it's a straight-up Falcons second-round pick. Well, the Steelers would have had to give up their second and more to beat that.
Yeah, and a kicker because the Falcons are picking 8th.
Yeah, they just have a better pick, and I'm not giving up one.
Right.
Yeah.
So
we'll see what it comes in at, but I think the price tag would really prohibit you from addressing other needs.
Well, and the thing is, when you get 2 teams involved in these kind of things, that's when the price starts getting driven up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then they counter with a second and their 4th.
And then now you're got to give us your second and third.
Second and next year's second or whatever. But
until you reach – no, I'll call. I'm done.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to fold.
I'm done. Yeah, you win. And again, you would get them for $5 million this year. You get them for $22 million next year. The money's not crazy, but it would prohibit you to do some things in free agency a little bit. And certainly that second-round pick really sets up well for a corner, a center, a defensive line.
Yeah, all these guys that we're talking about this week, you're not going to get a couple of them
you're not going to get.
You're not going to get to fill those needs. And I just don't know that he makes you a better football team. I know a lot of Steeler fans. Well,
I know.
Because you look at the yardage that he's run for, and you look at the touchdowns that he's produced, and certainly
which is phenomenal.
They are better than what Kenny Pickett has put up in his first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, no question about it.
But he's also has 5 times as many turnovers.
It's remarkable. I mean, the fumbles are really high. The interceptions are high.
The sacks that he takes
are ungodly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really bad.
He takes 3.5 sacks a game over the course of his career.
And if it's 1 year behind a terrible offensive line, you say, oh, he had a rough go.
But it's been every year.
It doesn't matter what system he's been in, who's been blocking for him. He holds the football. And we say this all the time. Sacks are at least as much a quarterback stat as offensive line. Now, could his good outweigh his bad? Of course.
Yeah. I mean, he's allowed to get better.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Of course. And I'm rooting for him. I mean, that could be a really fun team with him.
Oh, I am too. I mean, I loved him coming out in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
It just there's certain issues that he has that haven't gotten better.
Right. And we see the effect of offensive turnovers on the Steeler team. Is the way they're equipped is not able to overcome it very often. So if he's making a lot of mistakes, he'd have to outweigh it with big plays that you wouldn't get from quarterback X. And when it came down to him, like, I don't think I want to give up substantial picks for that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and if the Steelers had done that, had they gone that route, you're basically punting on Kenny Pickett.
Yeah.
Like you're saying he's done.
Like I can't imagine you would make that trade and say it's a straight out 50-50 battle in camp.
Right.
You know, I think at least you'd be like, looks
because
like
the problem they're going to run not completely different offenses,
but it's not apples to apples.
It's not apples to apples.
No, I mean they both move well, but Kenny doesn't run like that.
Yeah.
I mean you would have to design, quarterback designed runs would be a staple of your offense. And if Kenny's in there, you can't run the same stuff. You could run a play or two, but
yeah.
So we'll see what happens at quarterback here in Pittsburgh, but there will be moves. I don't think it's going to be Fields by all accounts this morning. The internet's buzzing, but it's not official. So we shall see. I mean, those are the big things going on.
So tomorrow kicks off March.
Yes.
This should be
As
March,
it's leap
but
day,
since
right.
it's leap day, we're not in March yet. And March 13th marks the start of free agency.
It's amazing how quick that happens. Like the combine.
So
always
basically
sneaks up
2
on
weeks
me.
from today.
2 weeks from today. So we'll actually start hearing some rumors, but the league's pretty good about the tampering period and stuff like that. Not too much leaks anymore. So 2 weeks from now, probably the Steelers will have a new guy, or two, and I'm sure there's going to be some roster reconstruction in the meantime. There's still some cuts, some restructures all across the league. Valdez-Scantling got released yesterday. I'm sure today we'll see 5 or 6 more from around the league, and as teams start to get cap compliant.
Starting to get some heights and weights.
Good. That's what I've been kind of waiting for.
Here. The file is up here that I'm looking at, but they haven't
quite plugged them in yet.
No, they get the names in there. They've taken the reservation,
right.
But they haven't kept.
Yes,
they haven't held the reservation on that one.
But they've all been done. As we're recording this, every linebacker, D lineman, edge have all been height and weighted. I don't know why it took this long, to be honest with you. I've been in Indy for 3 days.
Has it only been 3 days? It seems like it's been about 12.
Well,
4 for Gerard
right,
as he's sitting here. He got here Sunday. And we've had we'll hear from Omar Khan today.
Yes.
That's kind of one of the big reasons why a lot of people came here.
Exactly.
from Pittsburgh.
A lot of the folks driving in from Pittsburgh, the media guys, put a little wrench in their plan, obviously, but
yeah, it's understandable. I mean, he had a family a situation that he had to deal with, and that's the way it goes. So we're going to get to our first break here. Okay. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio. We are live at the NFL Scouting Combine here in Indianapolis. We will be back. We're taking you all the way through 12 today, and then Matt will bump out, and Jerry Dulac will hop in here with Max Starks, and we got more guests. We got a pretty big guest here coming at 11,
second hour,
yeah, second hour. We get Cynthia Freeland joining us here, the NFL.com analyst.
I'm going to keep my eyes peeled too for whoever else is walking around too.
This is the nice thing. So we've been in that 2 to 4 slot.
The place is a lot calmer.
By the time you get to that time, because all the interviews are done in the morning.
Right.
Everybody's gone.
There's people not looming around just to grab.
But now that we're in this earlier window here,
however, Thursday, because workouts happen, this place is always quieter than Wednesday, Tuesday.
Yeah, there's not as many. I mean, even if you look at the tables around here, there's a lot of people already packed up and gone home.
There's just fewer bodies in this building right now.
Yeah. But we'll find. We'll see what we can get.
Though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But we're going to get to a break now. You're listening to Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh. We'll be back with more from the Combine right after this.
is continuing coverage of the 2024 NFL Combine, live from Indianapolis on Steelers.
Mics are hot, guys.
Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. We were having some technical issues there. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to drop out of that earlier segment a little quicker than we typically do. I think we got them fixed.
Sounds like we got them fixed. I got a bunch of tweets that they
you
were
guys
able to
sound
hear the folks next door here at the Titans table, but not me. So.
It must have been some we couldn't hear them at all.
They were invading our lands, and I wasn't holding up the border very
well.
Right.
We won the second half here and forced them to.
We made a halftime adjustment.
there.
Yeah. The walls are fortified.
Yeah. We are live from the NFL Scouting Combine here in Indianapolis. We are jammed in here a little bit, as with all the other teams and stuff. So that's why you do have some of that cross-pollination when it comes to those things. But you can also watch the video on YouTube if you want to see the show.
Yeah, the drives are all on YouTube this year.
We suggest you go ahead and do that as well. That'll be up later today. And, Matt, I wanted to talk about one player here today that was on the podium yesterday, and that's Darius Robinson.
Oh, yeah. That's
the
an
big
exciting
defensive end from Missouri. And he's a guy that, 6'5", 286 pounds.
Long, great build. Right.
Looks like Adonis.
Yeah.
Has played inside. Has played out on the edge. There's a lot of value there.
There's a lot of value there. I'm trying to find a good player comp in my mind. Maybe an Eric Armstead, something like that.
Cam Jordan, maybe?
Cam Jordan's a good one. Yeah, Jordan's had a great career doing those things. Like he's a big base D end for them. The Saints like big D linemen with size and length. But he also kicks inside and causes problems with quickness as well as power. DeForest Buckner does some of those things. Yeah. He's a little bigger than those guys. But, yeah, I mean –
it's even like Calais Campbell to a certain degree. He's not quite as big as Calais.
Yeah, Campbell's really an outlier in terms of his height, but still used the same way. I think that's a good comparison too. So those guys can have a lot of success in this league. I wonder how I bet every defense kind of looks at them differently. Like, is he a base end on early downs or, running situations? Doesn't matter the down and distance necessarily. And an inside guy. So how many snaps do we play him? Maybe all. I mean,
right. Maybe he never comes off the field because I can play him at defensive tackle. I can play him at end. I can, he can be my rush guy. I could even kick him outside and let him play the edge.
Yeah, stunts and loops and things like that too. I think he could probably even stand up as a huge edge, like you mentioned. They do that with like Chris Jones and some of those guys. Used to do it with Namakong Suh a lot. So no, I think he's interesting. And if he performs in the next level or early in the next level like he did at the Senior Bowl, he's not going to leave the field very much. He was really, really hard to block and powerful, explosive. So I think he's an interesting guy. Today will be big for him, as it will for all, but it's not a great defensive front draft, and he may end up in the first round.
And he's a different – we were talking about the Murphys and the Devondre Sweats and the guys like that yesterday. He really fits the what you're looking for the from a Steelers standpoint is a 3-4 end.
Yeah, I would think so too. Much more than those guys.
Yeah,
I mean, Sweat's an obvious nose.
Yeah. He looks more like Cam Hayward than he does Casey Hampton.
Right. Where the guys that are projected in the first round, you mentioned, Newton as well as Murphy are both
6'1".
Geno Atkins explode upfield, and sure, the Steelers would like to have those guys, and I think they're more apt to employ a guy like that than the LeBeau years or whatever, where you had to be this big to ride the ride. But it's not really the prototype they want. I mean, they want length, they want height, physicality. There aren't going to be many defensive linemen on this team, or quote defensive ends that are under 6'4".
Yeah, I mean, it's just you like to have that length because they're wrestling with the tackles a lot of times in some of those situations, or you're double teaming. Or you're getting double teamed, I should say, and taking on a guard in the center or the tackle the guard. So you're asked to do a lot more in this defense as a defensive lineman than you are in some others where it's just get up the field.
Chris Jenkins is another one I want to see what his height and weight is. I don't know that he'll be as tall or as long as Robinson. And he's a little different than his dad. His dad was such a power player. Like, he would never line up outside the guards. But Jenkins from Michigan is supposed to be a phenomenal tester. This could be a good day for him that maybe he starts getting some buzz early round 2 in that neighborhood, or maybe the Steelers would look at him as, I can't pass this guy up in the second round. So there are a couple of defensive linemen that I'm warming up to, including sweat. Sweat.
Yeah. So on the podium yesterday, Penn State edge rusher Chop Robinson. We haven't talked a lot of edge rushers because really, quite frankly, the Steelers aren't going to be in that market.
Not early in the draft.
Yeah. He said he weighed in at 255 pounds, according to him.
That's actually good.
Yeah. He said his goal is to run a 4.4 40-yard dash, a broad jump of 11 feet.
11.
And to go 38 to 40 inches in the vertical.
Okay. I mean, from what I understand about how he tested in his Penn State career, that's not crazy talk. And he's obviously been
He's not going to throw those numbers out there unless he's actually done them in his workouts.
In the neighborhood.
Yeah.
The thing I'm actually most interested with him is his 10-yard split. Because if you watch all those edges in this class, his get-off is probably the best of all of them.
Yeah.
And, again, he's not going to be a Steeler, folks. I mean, I'm sure there's some Penn State fans out there going, well, I'd love to have him. Yeah, I get it. But one thing I've really noticed about Steelers scouting edge guys, including Watt and Highsmith, their 10 times are really good, and their get-off times for – actually, Cynthia Freeland is one of the people that measures that stuff at the NFL level. The Steelers are always at the top of the league at best get-off off the edge, and I think Robinson has a chance to be the best one in this class that way.
Yeah, and that obviously has extreme value.
Sure.
So if you're a Steeler fan, you're watching this draft, you want Chop Robinson to do well.
Oh, yeah.
And push himself up.
Maybe he's in the top 19.
Yeah, push himself up because edge rushers are valued.
Yep, and it's funny this edge class because Latu from UCLA, probably this won't be his best showing.
He's not going to test super well.
And he's hoping he doesn't have any medical issues because he's actually retired at some point medically. I don't think Verse is going to be an extreme tester.
Yeah.
And I think everyone knows that coming in, that let's go back to the tape on these guys. Let's not overreact to a so-so combine. But Robinson has a chance to fight with those guys if he shows way better than them here to be the first one off the board. We just know that's how things go.
Yeah, and everybody needs edge rushers. I mean, unless you're in the situation like the Steelers where you've got your two starters and you just drafted one last year that's promising. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I don't have the draft order in front of me, but like where the Falcons pick, the Bears second one, I think you could start seeing edge guys fall there, and plenty of spots in between. Denver, so. The Dolphins just moved on from Ogba. They could use another one, too. They have a ton of needs, though. So there's a lot of landing spots for edge guys, basically from 9 to 19. And if 3 of them would fall there, that would be tremendous for the Steelers.
Yeah. Here's a little thing I didn't know. So Junior Colson, the linebacker from Michigan, was born and raised in Haiti.
Okay.
And lost a number of his family in a earthquake there in 2010.
Oh, really?
Was adopted by an American family out of an orphanage in Port-au-Prince. Comes here and might be the best linebacker, off-ball linebacker. He's in the conversation.
He's in the conversation.
As the best off-ball
Big day
linebacker
for him
in this
too.
draft.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the coolest things about the draft. And, like Dane Brugler, who we haven't got a chance to talk to yet, he puts out the beast and he puts out all the background on these guys and all their different paths. But there's always – 20, 25 stories of hardship or coming from not knowing what football was till late in life and things like that.
Last year was the twins from Illinois that were the
that's a good one too.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember Tamba Hali back then. I mean, there's a lot, just so many of them where how they got here is amazing, to be honest with you. Yeah.
It's one of the things I get a chance and opportunity to do for Steelers.com as well that I really enjoy is digging into the backgrounds on some of these guys, so you learn some things about them. In fact, you mentioned the Falcons quarterback, the backup,
Mariota, Ritter, Heineke.
Yeah, okay. Taylor Heineke. I'm working on a story on. I got a couple irons in the fire on stories that I'm working on, and I'm talking to the head football coach at Duquesne. I'm working on a Christian Kuntz story. Christian Kuntz had an interception against Taylor Heineke in college.
That's kind of bizarre. Like, I remember we were talking about this at the watering hole the other night.
For a touchdown.
That I didn't realize how good of an athlete Kuntz was or what he did other than long snapping throughout his career.
He's still the all-time leading sacker
sack leader in Duquesne history.
With 30. It's a lot of sacks.
It's a lot. It's awful lot of sacks. And I was thinking about that too. Like, what if they had 2 or 3 edge injuries? Is he your emergency edge guy on game day?
I don't know if he would be at this point, but
they should give him a rep or 2 in camp
because the whole long snapping thing's pretty important now too.
Yeah. You don't want
him to get hurt doing that.
100%.
Because some of your backups might be some of the edge rushers that he is replacing.
I mean, the more I think about it, I'm sure of the 32 edge rushers out or the long snappers out there, a lot of them have pretty good football backgrounds.
At some point,
right.
started. You didn't come into it. And,
you were tight end
from the time you were in seventh grade. I want to be a long snapper.
And if you're a good enough athlete to be in the pros, then I'm sure the head coach wasn't like, you're not just going to long snap, son. You're doing other stuff. Yeah.
So that's just one of those little backstories that you learn, or Connor Hayward's. I told you this one. Connor Hayward's youth football quarterback was Davis Mills.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And there's a safety in this draft from Utah. There's actually 2.
Yeah.
But the one from his
Sione Vike.
Yes. He's played a lot of slot receiver, a ton of running back. He's coming out as a safety, but he was Najee Harris's blocking back in high school. You know, so a lot of these guys intersect, and a lot of their backgrounds are very cool. And we'll get a lot more of these stories, I'm sure, like Golson coming out. You're up on the podium and people start bringing it up and start really digging into their background. Like Dane does an unbelievable job.
I was over there when Cedric Gray was talking yesterday, and he's
this is crazy.
Talking about the Troy Polamalu. He has Troy Polamalu's 43 on his forearm because that was his favorite player. He's 23 years old or 21 years old. Like, does he really remember Troy playing a lot? But
it wasn't that long ago, was it? I mean,
Troy retired in 2011,
6 years ago, 7 years ago, something
14,
like that.
Okay, so maybe I guess that's 10
he was
years
a young
ago.
Kid, right.
But
Troy definitely
to make that kind of impact, he wasn't getting a tattoo at 11.
No, I would think not. Probably not. Right.
But
I bet the Steelers took notice of that conversation too.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure when he met with them, which he did, that was dream come true. I was a huge Troy Polamalu fan. Look at the tattoo.
Didn't just get it the day he got drafted.
Because he didn't wear 43 in college. He wore 33.
Okay.
So
interesting. But he would actually fit him quite well, too, maybe in the third round. Yeah, he moves around well. I mean, he's not Troy, but, I mean, he's an off-the-ball space player with some explosive traits as well.
I think he had 7 interceptions in college.
He's productive, too. Yeah.
Some sacks, a bunch of tackles.
I think he'll have a good day today, too.
Yeah, I think he'll
good tester, and change direction stuff should be good for him. Little built lower to the ground. I mean, he's not one of these real long guys. He doesn't look like Terrell Edmonds, those type of guys.
Yeah.
Jermaine Edmonds.
Does that matter? Do you look?
Yeah.
They have to be. You can't be super short. But does it matter as much now as it used to?
In some ways, more to me, depending on scheme. If you're super zone heavy, I think you disrupt throwing lanes a lot more with your length. Just a wingspan. It doesn't seem like much. It's like, boy, his wingspan's 2 inches longer. That's a lot when you're trying to throw a football into a tight window that's tight to begin with. And I also think because the tight ends are so good in this league, there's times where the stumpy, strong safety, Bob Sanders body type, he just gets out-rebounded.
Yeah.
What I mean?
You look at it with Joey Porter. That was one of the things. Well, he's a 4-5 guy. Well, he's a 4-5 guy, but down the field, he plays more like a 4-4 guy because of the length.
Yeah, and Porter's a great example, but, a throw on the perimeter – you might have to throw the ball with different trajectory because of his length.
Yeah.
You might need to come down sharper as opposed to putting it on a line because he has so much tree trunks to get, tree branches to get around. Same thing is true. Like you look at the Colts are a great example. Like all their linebackers have extreme length. And, there's some teams that only draft that way. Just because you play a ton of zone and the balls come out quick, well, those zones get a little tighter.
Yeah, we talked about that last year with Jack Campbell. He was 6'3", 6'4". That makes a difference.
Absolutely makes a difference. So, but the shorter, very explosive runaround guys definitely have a role in this league still.
Yeah.
Speed kills.
Yeah, if that's the thing. These guys, for example, the safety out of Miami, whose name is Williams, I think it is.
The one that's trying to play linebacker.
Yeah.
Too? Yeah.
6'5".
Yeah.
6'5" safety, probably too big.
if you can't break down.
It's really difficult to turn and run and drop your hips and those kind of things when you're 6'5".
I mean, we're at the combine, so I keep referencing how they'll work out on the field. But a guy like him, I guarantee every war room's going, I really want to see his shuttles. I want to see his three cones. Can he drop his hips and change directions, or is he so upright that he sticks?
Does he fall over?
Yeah, right. Because if he's going to have to in the league without question.
I can remember that being an issue when the Steelers selected Scott Shields back in the early 2000s.
I remember he was kind of a workout warrior, wasn't he?
99, actually, maybe. I mean, you looked at him, you said, well, he's 6'4", but can he
really change
do
directions?
Those? Can he change directions?
Because inevitably you are going to get stuck on a Welker, or somebody that's just a pure quickness player, and they can tie you in knots.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not just dropping back and being long all the time.
No. So when you look at the cornerbacks position, what's too big for cornerback? Is it 6'2", 6'3", and I don't want, if he's 6'4", maybe he can't.
You'd start to worry, for sure. I mean, that's why these drills are important. I mean, is he going to? A lot of it's scheme. I mean, if you're just a cover 3 Sherman type corner, you're much more apt to be able to handle those things. But the thing about that is, like, okay, we can handle less change of direction in our scheme if we get more length or physicality or whatever we're looking for. But these offensive coordinators are so good at isolating your weaknesses. You never just do one thing. You
and they're going to pick at it, pick at it,
pick
at it.
I mean, they're going to flood your zone with 2 or 3 receivers and make you choose. And so I mean, that's why these coaches are so good.
Yeah, I just I can remember a few years ago when we were waiting for DK Metcalf's straight line speed and everything was fantastic.
Fantastic.
And his workout was fantastic. He jumps out of the gym and he's all
anything
that stuff.
Straight line was historically good for.
But the cornering was an issue, and so you wondered. You wondered if that would hold up in the NFL. Well, he's such a physical freak that you just throw the ball up to him down the field and let him go get it.
I mean, for people who don't remember, what you're referring to is his 3-cone drill was worse than Tom Brady's. I mean, it really was. He was like a giant battleship that just went forward like a train on the tracks. But if in that case, the defense can't manipulate him like the offense, like the other way around.
Yeah, you can play to his strengths.
Right.
Whereas the defense is you got to defend that.
Yeah. So he runs a lot of slants. He runs a lot of goes. He's not a lot of double and triple moves and that type of thing. And he's also gotten better at it. Like him on the field now, if you study his tape, coming out of his breaks laterally is much better than his rookie year. Yeah. So, I mean, he knew his weaknesses.
Guys get better.
Yeah, the guys
allowed to get better.
Right.
And so in college, a lot of these guys aren't asked to. You always hear about a lot of the receivers. Well, he needs to refine his route running. Well, why would that be? Well, they got by in their athleticism in college.
Oh, for sure. Or
the
wide open schemes, and they don't have as much practice time. Well, I mean, time to dedicate to their craft and things like that too. And sometimes their bodies are still maturing too. Their balance gets better, their technique gets better, coaching, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you're right. There's not a lot of refined route runners coming out of school.
No, it just doesn't happen. No. I mean, and even if they are good route runners in college, they can still continue to get better at it at the NFL level.
I mean, the nuances of it, like, Jerry Rice is obviously like the gold standard, but and I've seen studies of it where they'll show his stem, which is, his until he makes his first break, looks the same no matter what route he runs. He doesn't tell it at all, and then some of the guys are the opposite, where they'll give you this lean, like, he's got a strong tendency, and then you bite, and then Devontae Adams snaps it back the other way, So, I mean, it's devilish.
Yeah, and that's why, with wide receivers necessarily, the 40 time can be a little overrated for a wide receiver.
I think running back and wide receiver are the most overrated.
Keenan Allen's a 4.7 guy.
Yeah.
4.7.
Yeah. I don't even think like Antonio Brown ran a great 40.
No, Antonio Brown I think was like 4.51, something like that.
No, Larry didn't have a great 40. Jerry Rice didn't have a great 40. There's many instances of it.
People very rarely catch them from behind, though.
Right. I mean, like Michael Thomas was super productive for 5 years in the league.
It was like 4.6 something.
Yeah, I think it was like a 4.61, something like that. But people way overreact to 40 times for receivers
and
and running backs.
The really speedy ones tend to not work out because they're just fast.
They're just fast. Yeah.
John Ross has one of the best 40 times ever into combine. Mm-hmm. Never became anything.
Yeah, the real speed demons. There's not many of them that really hit.
Yeah. So when we start seeing some of these speeds and things of that nature, Chris Johnson's the outlier.
Yeah, he's one of the few that actually
Yeah.
turned into a very, very good player.
But don't be enamored. What? 4-2. This guy ran 4-2 or 4-3. Yeah, but can he play football?
I would rather my first-round corner ran a 4-2 than my first-round receiver or running back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It didn't really hold up with Jackson Smith and the Jigbill yet this last year, but he was ungodly in his three-cone. And that to me, is more of a route-running drill. You know, him coming out of your breaks, things like that.
And he'll get more nuanced the longer he's in the league.
Yeah,
and
and
he got better as the
also
season
blocked,
went
right?
on last year.
It wasn't a disappointment at all. But, I mean, he'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to another break here. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio. We are live from the NFL Scouting Combine. This is day 3 for us here on this Thursday, on this Leap Day.
Leap Day.
Leap Day. We will always remember Leap Day 2023, 2024, 2024. Right?
2024.
Yeah, I got to figure out what day it is. So we are we are here. We're going to hopefully at some point here during the show we start getting some heights and weights coming in on some of these guys. We can kind of react to those online.
That's what I'd like to really
would
dig into.
Yeah, because I'm super interested in what some of these guys. You know,
Do we know what time drills start today?
I think they're in the afternoon, so
Okay.
we'll have to react to those tomorrow. But
I set my DVR at home, and I was thinking it was like 3 to 6, something like that.
Yeah. We'll get to that though later here, or
probably tomorrow.
A little more tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we're going to get to a break now. We'll be back with more here on Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. We are live at the NFL Scouting Combine. Matt, in that previous segment, we were talking linebacker a little bit there. We've talked linebacker a lot.
More and more.
Yeah. Looking here, Bill Barnwell has a piece on free agency.
Oh, okay.
Stacking some of the free agent linebackers here.
Yeah, let's talk about them.
Available. And
it's okay.
It's okay, and so you're going to have to weigh if you're the Steelers, you're going to add at least one.
Oh, for sure.
Because Quan Alexander is a free agent.
Mm-hmm. You really have two you can count on right now. One of them's injury situation.
Yeah,
is precarious.
Holcomb's situation is what it is,
and Robinson's going to be in camp.
Yeah. So you have to weigh whether you want to fill that in free agency or whether you want to try to fill that in the draft.
Yeah. Let's go through it, though, because I do like, as is the case with every year, when I start looking at draft stuff, I start looking at the Steelers' biggest needs first. But now we have gotten more into some of the linebackers that are going to be working out today, and I'm liking that group more and more. It's day two guys.
Day two,
right.
And later.
But you do want to knock some needs out before the draft. I mean, you can't go into the draft with 5 positions. You have to draft with 3 picks.
So he has nobody as a franchise type
linebacker
available this
I don't
year.
think Patrick Queen's a franchise type quarterback. Linebacker.
He has him in tier 2, and the only guy in tier 2 is a Pro Bowl caliber starter. And I don't even know if I would put him there because we've seen him be Robin.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen him be Batman.
Right.
And whoever signs him is going to sign him to be Batman.
I think he's got high potential. I mean, he's a really athletic first-round pick, and we always talk about it takes those guys a while, and he's a perfect example of that. And I do think having Roquan there boosted him a great deal, but he'd be a risky guy to sign because he's going to be expensive. I mean, I bet he's $15 million a year, and there's bust potential there.
I'm betting right here on February
Leap Day.
Leap Day, February 29th, that he is a Seattle Seahawk.
I think so, too, which is a perfect way to bring in your defensive general, your defensive quarterback.
You're going to make all the play calls. You know the defense. You're going to teach it to everybody else.
Yep, and another guy on this list from Seattle, Brooks, is up for free agency. To them, I mean, if you're Seattle, I wouldn't mind a little overpay there. New head coach. I think he's worth more to them than most teams. I'm certain he won't be a Raven.
Yeah, they can't.
And they drafted Simpson last year with this in mind.
His tier 3 guys, and he's looking at an average salary projection of $16 to $18 million for Patrick Queen.
Ooh, I just said 15, and I'm probably a little light.
Yeah. So, but tier 3 guys.
Maybe I'd start considering this year. Maybe.
Yeah. Jordan Brooks, the aforementioned Jordan Brooks,
former first-round pick. He might be hitting his stride at the right time.
Right.
It's better to buy these guys now than suffer through those first couple of years.
This is the interesting thing about this. So on his list of capable starters here, you've got a bunch of the older guys.
Like Levante David
and
Wagner
the 30-plus guys.
Yeah.
And then you've got some of those higher-rated, some guys who are high draft picks who haven't quite flourished yet.
Hopefully their best days are ahead of them.
So Brooks is one of the younger guys.
Okay.
Then you got Levante David.
So we should probably have this conversation.
He wants to be a Buccaneer.
I know he wants to be a Buck. And Wagner's the other one I'm sure it's going to come up. But a lot of these guys want to just play for Coach Tomlin. I mean, and I don't want to get old on defense, but a 1-year deal doesn't mean you're old on defense. I mean, just rent them for a year, It's just
and
a
they don't have the injury history with those guys isn't.
No. I mean,
they've been pretty durable.
Yeah, they're Hall of Famers.
Yeah. Willie Gay with the Chiefs.
Interesting. I would probably like his teammate better for the cost because I think Gay's going to be we'll get to the prices, but I'm guessing he's 9. That's a little pricey.
Yeah, it depends on, if it turns into how many teams want him.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Hicks with the Vikings.
Interesting, but I don't know that it's a big upgrade.
Yeah. Josie Jewell with the Broncos.
Very solid. I mean, he's not a good tester. He's, he lives off his mind and his eyes. But you can count on him.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
Frankie Luvu with the Panthers.
I really like him. I mean, he's an ascending guy. He's more of a downhill player, though, than a play in space, play in reverse guy. But he has a really good year for the Panthers. There's a couple Panthers defenders that are a lot better football players than people realize. They're just always on the field.
Yeah. Andrew Van Ginkel with the Dolphins.
He's more of an edge, typical like Ninkovich guy.
Yeah.
I don't think the Steelers.
But those guys are. You can move them around a little
Oh
bit.
yeah. He can drop off the ball.
Yeah. Devin White, who's more of a name than he is a player at this point.
I mean, there's a number I would give him, and hopefully he hits his stride at the right time. But I bet that number's not enough to secure him.
He hasn't hit it yet. I mean, he was the 5th overall pick for the Buccaneers, and they're not going to have him back.
No, he won't be back.
I mean, he got benched late in the year.
Yes. He's been in and out of the lineup.
And then Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, I still think he has it, but this last year was a little worrisome.
He's not Batman anymore.
No, but
he can be a solid piece.
I mean, this probably won't apply to the Steelers, but he would be the perfect guy to be Levante David's Devin White mentor.
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like if there was a high pick or, that's still learning the ropes, or whoever the first linebacker off the board was last year, go pair him with Bobby Wagner, who's an all-time great, really.
Yeah. And his annual projected salary for that group of guys is between $7 and $10 million a year.
Who would you take if you had to have one of those?
If I had to,
I'd take Louvu. But he's probably 10, not 7.
He's probably in the 10 side of that. I think Willie Gay fills a lot of.
Interesting. He's probably the best athlete you mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an extreme tester here.
Very good tester.
You see him flying around.
And he may just be hitting his stride here.
Yeah. That's not a bad one.
Still young enough that there's some upside there.
I mean, if his agent called the Steelers and said, "You want Willie for 2 years, $15 million with a nice bonus?" Yeah, we could probably talk. Yeah,
think about it. The Tier 4 guys, which are borderline starters, high-end backups.
I think there's I haven't seen the list, but I bet there's 3 or 4 names here that would fit the bill.
The first one is Azeez Al-Shaair.
I think he's better than
that description, yeah.
And I think a lot of these guys in this tier will be better than that description.
Yeah.
I would be very interested in him.
Yeah. Anthony Jennings of the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah, he's more of a thumper.
He is more of a borderline guy. Denzel Perryman, same thing.
He's been in the league a long time too, and he's a little athletically limited.
And Sione Taki of the Browns. He's got an injury history that's.
Al-Shaair should be in the
he should
tier
be
above there. Yeah,
he's
much better than these guys.
Some possible cap casualties he lists on.
Did they list the price tag for that tier?
I haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, these are all still in the same tier, the cap casualty guys.
Devondre Campbell of the Packers.
I'd have to study what he did this past year, but he's a long middle-of-the-field defender. I assume he's on here because they signed him to too big a deal 2 years ago. Yeah. And then they drafted Walker out of Georgia in the first round. He looks like a pretty good player.
Cole Holcomb is on this list. I don't know if I see that happening unless
the injury makes you do it.
Yeah.
But that's the first I've heard that.
Yeah. And then Eric Kendricks of the Chargers.
He's bounced around a little, but he's had a really good career.
Yeah.
I mean, if he was out there – and the Chargers have to cut everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a reflection on Kendricks as much as the Chargers are just in a nasty situation.
And the average annual salary projection for that group of guys is $3 to $5 million. If I can get Al-Shaair
at 5,
even
at 5, I'd do it. Yeah,
sign me up.
2 years at 9.5. Yeah, I'm in on that.
Yeah, I'd be good with that.
Yep.
The Tier 5
that's
guys.
Not a bad place to shop. Yeah.
These are backups not likely to net guaranteed money. In that one, you got Cody Barton, Devin Bush, Zach Cunningham, Terrell Dodson.
Ooh, I would take Dodson.
I would take Dodson out of that. Shaq Leonard, Kenneth Murray. Would you take a shot on Kenneth Murray? Another highly drafted guy that
he's never shown good eyes.
He just hasn't.
No, but I mean, he's a highly drafted guy that
they're traits.
And I guess that's why he phrases it that way. That wouldn't be guaranteed money. Like you could sign him and maybe even cut him.
Yeah.
I mean, like he might not even make the team.
Yeah. Isaiah Simmons, kind of the same thing.
He intrigues me.
Yeah.
I mean, just get him in here and see what happens.
See what he can do.
He was a free safety.
Because you didn't draft him. There's the pressure. Is off. Like the pressure was on the Cardinals to figure out what to do with him.
Yeah. I mean, the Giants gave up like a 7th-round pick for him just to eat his salary this year.
Drew Tranquill.
That one I'm interested in. He would play here.
Yeah. Anthony Walker of the Browns and Mac Wilson of the Patriots.
Okay. Tranquill would certainly excite me. There was another name on there.
Dotson.
Yeah, I don't think he belongs there. I think Dotson's an ascending.
He should be an
impressive player. Yeah. I'd probably give Dotson $3 or $4 million a year.
And then backups likely to earn roster spots. Or actually, the average salary for those guys is $1.5 to $3 million.
I mean, if you could get either one of those two at 3, or I mean, I'd give Isaiah Simmons 1.5.
Yeah.
just to see what happens.
And then this last group is the backups likely to roster spots. Quan Alexander, we'll see where he's at in terms of his recovery. Oren Burks with the 49ers. Camus Gruger-Hill of the Panthers. Malik Harrison of the Ravens. Nicholas Morrow of the Eagles. Khalil Hudson of the Commanders. Josh Woods of the Cardinals. And then a couple of restricted free agents. Jack Gibbons of the Titans. Christian Rosenblum of the Rams.
Okay. I mean, frankly, I can't speak super intelligently on that entire group, but they all better be special teamers.
Yeah, they're like 1 year, veteran minimum type guys. So that's what you're shopping in if you go the free agent route as opposed to the draft.
And I bet there's a couple other cap casualties not mentioned still. Yeah. But I was thinking there was a name for Cashman, I think is a free agent from the Blake Cashman went to Minnesota. I thought he was up and he didn't get listed there because I thought him and Tranquil to me are pretty similar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to get to another break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here, live from the NFL Scouting Combine here in Indianapolis. He is Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to Fox Sports Pittsburgh and Steelers Nation Radio. We'll be back with hour number 2 of the drive right after this.
we're doing here.
Caught up here. But Matt, I'm looking here at the DraftScout.com pre-Indy rankings of these guys, and this is interesting because they have projected rounds.
Okay.
Next to
so there's not 32 first rounders, 32 second rounders.
Right.
30, okay.
I'm just looking here to figure out where the depth.
Where the clusters are.
Where the clusters
like
are.
Yeah.
So looking here.
Which is where you want to go fishing. You
yeah,
know?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 quarterbacks with a. There 5 of them have a first-round projected round rating on them, and then Michael Penix has a 1-2, which means you're looking at a guy who could go at the end of the first round, early second round at some point.
Do you think Nix gets in?
I mean, he has decent size. You know, the numbers.
Pretty good athlete.
Yeah, pretty good athlete.
Yeah.
You know, potentially it's quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, you just.
I don't know that a playoff team would take him. I don't know that a Vikings or a Broncos would take him in the middle of the first.
Yeah.
I mean, if somehow they traded down or traded back in, I mean, I could see a Patriots don't take one at 3, but they move to 29 to get one, or that type of deal. Or, you know, the Titans were calling the Steelers left and right to get to 32 last year, which was a second rounder, to get Levis. Well, the Steelers didn't budge, and then they got Levis at 33. You know, maybe that's where he lands.
No fullbacks, not surprisingly.
Sure.
There's a couple there that are draft worthy, but
they'll get a couple picks. Maybe the Steelers even grab one and undrafted free agency.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to add some kind of fullback.
Running back, none in the first round, but there's 4 guys who have round 2 type grades on them, or 2 3s. That would be Trey Benson, Blake Corum, Jonathan Brooks, and Audric Estime.
Okay, I'm hearing more and more that day 2, which is great for the Steelers, could get flooded with running backs pretty heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not going to be any in the first round, but there's the Wisconsin kid's supposed to run like crazy at a heavyweight too. So we haven't talked much running backs. I don't think the Steelers will take one maybe until the last round.
He's listed here at 6'2", 245.
Yeah, they think he's going to run under 4.5.
He is a monster.
Right. He's a freight train.
Yeah. At tight end, just 1 in the first round. That is Brock Bowers, and you get Jatavian Sanders as a second-round guy. Then some more day 2 type.
The only take I have on that is you want Bowers to go in the top 19, which he will, and you want Sanders to go before the Steelers pick in the second round, which I think is a good chance.
And this group not nearly as deep as we've seen in the last couple of years.
I mean, again, it's not a position I've dug heavy into, but there's not a lot of round 3, 4 sleeper project types. You know,
wide receiver. This is where it gets. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys who either have a first-round projection or a 1-2.
Wow.
On their names there, and that's Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunzier, Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman, Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell, and Ladd McConkey.
Okay, that all adds up. I mean, it could even be more. I bet who's right behind those.
Right behind them are Xavier Worthy, Malachi Corley, Leggett, Ricky Pearsall, Jalen Paul. I mean, these are good players.
Those are good players. So if the Steelers are going to take one in the second round, I mean, I don't think you'll get any of those 1-2 guys.
Right.
I think that's pretty safe to say.
Roman Wilson, Devontae Walker, Johnny Wilson, Brendan Rice, Jalen McMillan, Jermaine Burton. I mean, there's guys there in that group that I like.
Oh, I like Wilson a ton. And I was listening to something this morning that they have video of him at Michigan. Some of these Michigan testers are bonkers, by the way, that he could have the best short shuttle in combine history.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he's not just a possession guy.
Yeah. That's and there's deep. That position goes deep into the draft. At center, right now they only have 1 projected first rounder. That will be Jackson Powers Johnson. And then you're looking at Zach Frazier in round 2.
So they don't call Barton a center.
They call Barton. Barton is listed with the tackles.
Okay. So I'm just curious, do they have a first round on him?
He is a 1-2.
That thing that's about right.
Yeah. At guard, just 1. That's Troy Fatanu out of Washington.
Okay. It's funny to me that they have Barton a tackle and Fatanu a guard. At least they did move. They projected some other guys.
I mean, Barton could play right tackle.
I'm sure he could. I'm sure he could, yeah.
At that tackle position, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys who have first round.
Wow. Like, that's rare.
Yeah.
I mean, that's rare, and I don't think I'd have a
And they're
problem with
all
any of those
legit
7 names.
dudes.
Yeah.
And there'll be some of these guys with a 2 next to their name. They could end up sliding into the end of the first round.
Oh, yeah.
You got Joe Alt.
He's right.
Fashanu, Fawaga, J.C. Latham, Amarius Mims, Tyler Guyton, and then Graham Barton are the guys.
Are
the guys who he has a 1-2 on him. And then right after that, Jordan Morgan with a 2, Kingsley Suamataya with a 2, and Patrick Paul with a 2.
And Suamataya, I mean, we might say in a couple days, he's going in the first round.
Yeah, he might test ridiculous.
I think he will.
Yeah.
But that's rare.
Yeah, no,
really rare.
Yeah, there's a few guys in that round 3-4 range, but not many.
Yeah, so you better act quick. I mean, they're still going to go quick. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of tackle needs around the league.
Yeah, so
It'd be nice to take advantage of that deep pool of round 1 guys.
yeah. Defensive tackle, 3 guys with round one grades on it because they're saying that Darius Robinson
is
a DT.
I guess that's where
which
I
is
put him.
really what he is.
Yeah, that's where I'd put him.
Yeah. Jerzon Newton, Byron Murphy, and Darius Robinson. And this is where we've been talking about this. Jerzon Newton, 6'1", 295.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think he's for the Steelers.
Byron Murphy, 6'1", 308.
Mm-hmm. What's the round 2 guys in that group?
Then you're looking at Chris Jenkins, Tavondre Sweat, Ru Carorho, and Brandon Dorius.
Okay, those first 3 would all be of interest to me.
Yeah, and then you also have Braden Fisk there as a third-round guy.
Would you consider him the 3rd round? I kind of want to go big or go home on that position, but he would jumpstart a lot of aggression, and
he gets after it.
He plays hard.
He plays really hard. Yeah. Some other guys in that one, Mason Smith. We talked about 6'5", 315.
That's the one that intrigues me.
Yeah,
I mean he was
a big dude.
He was a two-it-like athlete coming out of high school, and he's had some bumps in the road.
But when you look at this group, there just aren't a lot of those guys that are
shallow group.
6'3" or larger. There just aren't a lot of them. I didn't realize Gabe Hall, 6'6", 290. I didn't realize he was that tall.
That's the Baylor dude.
Yeah, the Baylor kid.
Yeah. He would fit the bill, too. He was pretty impressive at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, he had a good Senior Bowl. Defensive ends, you're looking at just 4. Letu, Versay, Chop Robinson, Braylon Trice.
I don't even know Trice gets in.
Yeah, he's got a 1-2 grade on him. So
okay. 3 of those, there are 2 of them. Letu and Trice won't test great. Robinson will.
But this kind of shows you that's not the strength of this.
No, it's not.
This draft.
I mean, the whole D line across the board is not strong.
Inside linebacker. Nobody with the first round.
Yeah, Cooper's the only one I think has a chance.
Yeah, where do they list it? I don't even see him listed on here.
Do they do outside linebacker, inside linebacker,
Maybe they put
or
him
something
in
goofy like that?
Outside backer? Yeah,
maybe they just don't like him.
They list him as an outside.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, but you got Junior Colson, Jeremiah Trotter as round 2 guys. Cedric Gray, who we talked about in the previous, is a 3, along with Nathaniel Watson, Tommy Eichenberg as the round 3 type guys.
Okay. Well, those are names people should be paying attention to today, though.
Ford in the 4th round.
Ford seems to be maybe a good value for the Steelers, one of those 4th-round picks.
J.D. Bertrand out of Notre Dame, another one of those guys in that round 4 type area.
Okay.
So there's
mid-round guys make some sense for the Steelers.
Yeah. Outside linebacker, Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell out of Alabama. And then they had the first-round grades. Then you got Edgerrin Cooper and Peyton Wilson as the second.
They're more like the last group we talked about.
Yeah. Cornerback. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys.
All in the first round.
In the first round type guys. That's Terrion Arnold, Nate Wiggins, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Kamari Lassiter. They have Rakestraw as a second-round guy.
I'd say Rakestraw could be in that mix as well.
He could work his way in there.
Kind of like tackle. They're always coveted.
Then you're looking at guys like T.J. Tampa. This is a guy that I haven't done a lot of homework on yet that I need to is DeCameron Richardson out of Mississippi State, 6'2", 195.
That's about all I know about him, too.
Yeah, this kind of a second-round type guy. Mike Sanistro, we've talked about him a lot. Might be the best nickel in this draft.
They call him a 2 or a 3? Or?
Say he's a 2-3.
Okay,
yeah. Kalen Carson out of Wake Forest. DJ James, we'll see what he weighs in at. That'll be interesting.
Those day 2 corners as a whole I need to do more work on, but that might be a better group than originally thought.
Yeah. You get the Cam Harts, you got the Kyrie Jacksons, you get the Johnny Dixons out of Penn State. these are, we're in the round 4 with some of these guys. That's a deep position.
I think one of the names you mentioned will be a Steeler.
Yeah.
I mean,
Andrew Phillips, another guy.
That's one I like too.
Yeah. So that's it, that group. Then it's safety. Strong safeties. I like how they
do break them down.
Break it down up here a little bit. So Jaden Hicks, second-round guy. Kalen Bullock, a second-round guy.
Okay.
Nobody in the upper part of that. And then the free safety.
Hicks has an outside chance to be the first safety off the board.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. He's big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
big.
The size helps.
Free safety, you're looking at Kinchins and Newbin as kind of 1-2 guys. Javon Buller, Cole Bishop, Tyke Smith. Those are in your round 3-4. Not a super deep class.
And we broke down some free agent linebackers. I think you really got to get a safety before the draft and maybe pretty early in free agency for the Steelers. It's a pretty good crop.
Yeah. No,
and I don't really want to rely on those guys.
When you're matching up those things like we talked about the linebackers, I think you weigh that towards the free agents.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'd rather draft a linebacker and sign a safety than the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think you can get some of those guys coming off first contracts at the safety position.
Oh, yeah. That are good football players.
Yeah.
They're solid. It would be a good compliment to Mika. Yep.
So,
even a couple older ones are, on their second contracts aren't bad.
So I'm looking here at the specialists.
Oh.
Which is,
I guess we have to pay attention to
somewhat,
punters, right?
Somewhat interesting here. So the punters, they have a grade, a round 3 grade on Torrey Taylor out of
That the Iowa kid?
Yeah.
That's the only one I know.
Wow. Austin McNamara of Texas Tech has a round 5 grade. You're looking at Matthew Hayball from Vanderbilt has a round 6 grade, and then there's some other guys that have.
So is there 3 draftable ones in that?
From the looks of it, there's some other guys here that have a seventh rounder, high priority free agent type guy.
Okay.
There's not much these guys are going to do.
No.
Well, he really vaulted up the boards. No, that's.
I mean, more than anything, it's how many teams need a punter.
Yeah.
I mean, is there 3 out there? Is there 6 out there? I don't know.
I can't imagine using a 3rd round pick on a punter.
No, I absolutely cannot, and certainly not here.
Or, for that matter, his long snappers rated here. They have long snappers in a long snapper with a round 6-7 grade on him.
Well, supposedly the end of this draft is particularly terrible.
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen some stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, the Steelers took a second quarterback the year they took Pickett, things like that, just to make sure you get your guy in camp.
Yeah. I didn't write down all the numbers there, but I don't think we got the 32 total guys.
With true first.
Yeah.
I bet not.
Because that's just the way the drafts go. I mean, you got maybe 20.
And there's a lot of tackles. There were a lot of receivers.
Yeah.
And I think you had 5 quarterbacks.
I think this year's group, usually when you look at that, you may have some years where you have 12 guys that have round 1 grades on them. That are clear. This one there's probably closer to 20 to 25, which is a little different.
I do think that's true. I mean, I think it would be easier this year. Like, I know there's like polls and bets out there where just give me the 32 human beings that are going in the first round. I think this year that's easier than most. Because usually it's like, I got 15 that are slam dunks, and then this next 40 could go any direction. Where I bet there's 22 that are slam dunks.
Yeah.
Like
as we sit here right now, I feel pretty good about that. Guy's going to be a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, I don't know where, and I don't have to mock it up, but if he can go in round 1 or not, yes.
Yeah, there's less variance at the end of the first round, I think, than years
Usually
before.
it's like, wow, it could be a lot of different directions.
These 45 guys could go in the first round. I think this year it's more like 38.
Yeah, I think it is less.
So,
yeah.
We'll see. I mean, somebody may really
that'll change.
Separate here.
It'll definitely
over
change.
the next couple of weeks here, but we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. That's how it goes.
No, I like where the Steelers are sitting, though.
Yeah. No, I like that as well. That was the NFL Draft Scout. Their look at where these guys kind of break out in terms of the ratings here. We're going to get to another break.
We got a guest set up here.
We have a guest coming on here in the next segment. She's not here yet, but Cynthia Freeland.
She's sitting right next door to us.
Oh, there we go. I didn't see her over there. So she'll jump over there from the Tennessee Titans and come over here with us, and we'll get to that when we come back here. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh. We are live from the NFL Scouting Combine here in Indianapolis. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And we'll be joined here shortly by Cynthia Freeland, who is the analytics guru at NFL.com.
Yep.
Does a great job with that stuff. And, you know, when you look at that, the next-gen stats and all of those kind of things have kind of changed the way people look at football in some instances.
In a very rapid manner.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of, like everything in this society, I mean, things are happening much, much faster because of technology, and, you know, and she's been a big reason why, you know, in terms of all the things that they're working on at Next Gen, and I'm psyched to talk to her. She comes and joins us every year, which is great, and it's neat to talk to her about what has changed through the technology analytics world just in 1 year, because it's rapid.
Yeah, no, it's definitely changed. And, you know, when people talk about the situation with NFL Defensive Player of the Year this past year, some of the analytics stuff I get.
Sure.
In terms of, you know,
Pressure and win rate
that
and
kind of
things
stuff.
like that, sure.
But to me, you know, the actual sacks and interceptions and things like that do still matter.
They sure do. They change the game more than a pressure might.
Yeah.
I mean, sack is a negative play. Pressure may end up being a touchdown.
Yeah, pressure, you know, is good to have pressure, and we like pressure.
No doubt.
You know, but I don't know that you can make that over-reliant on those kind of things. But we have Cynthia jumping in here with us now, and
she's on
Cynthia,
tour.
There we go. She's working her way around. How are you today, Cynthia? Oh, I got to turn you up.
Maybe
that would help.
Turn the headset on.
It's okay. I'm better when you can't hear me talk anyway. It's actually the best way to hear me talk. How are you guys?
Good.
Great.
Yourself?
How's life treating you?
It's great. The combine is like this weird thing of like Groundhog Day, but like the best day ever. Just but over and over and over again. You're like, I'm exhausted, but I really want to see. You know, you're like, okay, this is great.
Yeah.
Give me the hand sizes. Bring it on.
Yeah. It's a great week, but I'm always ready to go home when the week's over too.
I really miss my dog. I was like looking at like the security dogs out here. Like you're not supposed to pet them, but
do not pet.
If you ask them nicely, they'll let you pet them. I miss my puppy.
So Cynthia, one of the things that you do in the off season is you put together your mock drafts of all this stuff, but you do your mock drafts differently than the draft analyst and stuff. It's more an analytics based mock.
Yeah. Well,
what's the process?
There's a couple of things. The first is I really want to track the changes we see over time. Like anyone could put together a mock draft and be like, well, I think, and there's a lot of really smart, like fans even could do this. Like really smart people who could put together this awesome mock draft based on like they follow the right people on Twitter, like on what they think will happen, because the new, like, people are great sleuths with that. I want to more look at over time, and we haven't even had free agency yet. People haven't been released from teams yet. I want to see how it changes and how our perceptions change. So what I'm doing is I'm tracking, like, okay, so Joe Alt going first. People did not read the premise of the top of my. It's fine. I'm not mad about it.
Nobody reads that part. They just go look at their favorite team and then yell at you.
Exactly.
Right.
But the point is, you know, given what we know right now, like let's track the changes over time. So what we do is we say, and I say we because my editor won't let me make any trades, which obviously I would make.
Makes it a little more difficult, right?
Right, but it's like what would add the most value for next year, given the current configuration of the team. In just you get one like. What's the one player that adds the most value for this year? So obviously quarterback's the most valuable position. And obviously the strategy would say, okay, Caleb Williams or Drake May or Jaden Dale, whichever quarterback you want on a rookie deal, you're not going to pay Justin Fields. Like that actually makes more sense. But that's not what we're doing here. We're tracking how the data shows the increase in the team's ability to win games over time, and time being I did my first mock before the Super Bowl, and then all the way up leading to the draft.
Yeah. Now, you had Graham Barton, the interior offensive lineman, going to the Steelers.
Yeah. Was that before or after they released Mason Cole?
Yeah.
It was.
It probably doesn't even matter because
I think
they needed to upgrade
your mock
there either
came
way.
out. I'm looking here at it. I'm just wondering. I think it came out like 2 weeks ago or so.
And we kind of knew it was coming
February
either way,
9th.
so
Yeah,
February
I
9th.
feel like that one was one where because it was I don't know if listen, our insiders are really good, so like if Ian's saying it, I'm going to say it's real.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I think that's such a key, especially with Arthur Smith, the way he likes to kind of craft decisions for his quarterback and running back and wide receivers to make. I think that would just really give a lot of boost to whatever strategy they want to implement.
Okay. So what do you see in Arthur Smith? What kind of changes are you a fan? I mean, what kind of changes are happening? Okay.
So number one, I don't think people realize like Arthur Smith's really funny. If you guys got a chance to like,
I haven't yet.
you need to have a beer with him.
Okay.
I mean, or a non-alcoholic beer. Well, I don't know.
Right.
Am I allowed to say beer? I don't. You hang out with him.
A pop.
Just
Cup of
enjoy.
coffee.
Yeah.
Cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Perhaps. A Shirley Temple. But like, no, he's super fun. He's very he's a great teacher. Like he has a strategy and he stays true to it.
Okay.
You know, and I love the fact that like especially with, you know, younger players or players who like, you know, they all get to make decisions about who they want to be, but he makes it clear that like this is what we're trying to do. Here's the path to do it, and we're not going to stray from that. Like it's not going to be quarter 2 and it's not working, and we're going to we have 5 plans. We'll go to plan 2, but we're not going to go to plan 64 in right, like a very
So he stays on schedule.
Yeah, he stays, but he's very even keeled and like super dry sense of humor. So it all goes together. So when you have your Shirley Temple with him, you'll notice. Like, I mean, he's just got this great sense of very smart, and him and Tomlin together. That's gonna be like, I don't know if you like know this, but I like love Mike Tomlin. I went up to him at honors and I was like, you know, you're like my favorite coach, right? he's like, what? And I was like, I just feel like you're so underrated in terms of like the amount of BS that you've seen in this. And he's like, it's this, and he's like shrugs it off. I'm like, no, you're incredible. Like how you spin gold out of everything. Like it's incredible.
So you're in analytics driven. That's what you do. You're into the analytics.
That's what I do.
In some ways, Mike defies the analytics in many cases.
I guess so. Here's what it is. That just presupposes that I'm going to tell someone what to do. Like you can make a higher or lower probability decision. Whether like I just lay out the framework. You got to make the decision. You know.
I mean, though, in terms of like if you looked at how the Steelers started last year,
yeah.
when people were they were outgained every game, and you know,
100%.
If you looked at the analytics said, well, they should be like 3-7.
One-score games, you know.
Yeah. Well, one-score games are a tough one because that can go the other way. But like, no, they definitely defied the odds in many ways about many things last season.
Yeah.
But on some level, I think, you know, not that I know anything about what happens in Vegas, but, you know, we do some TV shows about it, and I'm like, ain't no way that it's going to be under 8.5 wins, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
Like, I don't exactly know how we're going to get there, but it might be on, like, the defensive front. It's just, like, it's not going to be 8.
Write it in now. It's going to happen.
I don't care how, but it's going to happen. Because there's, like, a don't quit factor. Like, some teams, like, you see people lose interest in the fourth. People do not quit for that coach, and it's a big difference maker.
No doubt about it.
And you know the one-score game stuff, it should be return to the mean at some point. But every year it seems like he's got a better record doing that than everybody else or most everybody else.
I mean, I think a lot of it is again, I think he selects for people who he can teach well, you know, and I think that they get in those nuanced situations. And by the way, they do a really good job of when are they using timeout. People don't give him enough credit for clock management, timeout, like in like the way that it's done. I don't know, not just clock management, if they say like run versus pass for whatever down, but also like, you know, timeouts, management of the 2-minute warning, and doing that also in the first half. Yeah. Like people, you know, the end of games is one thing, but like you don't set yourself up for a single possession game in many when you're maybe sometimes like maybe not the best Steelers team of all time last year. Right? Like, if you're not necessarily going into that game as the favorite and you're really good at clock management, you can see what happens here. You get that coin flip weighted a little bit more in your favor.
I know you need to run and you're in demand, but I also know you did a lot of work on play action, and
yes.
the Steelers have been at the bottom of the league, and Smith is at the top of the league.
I'm going to be very honest with you. I was like, please do more play action.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. Yep.
It's coming to you. I love it.
And it's a drastic change in terms of efficiency, don't you think?
Huge. Yeah. By the way, I had my first, so I did the preseason game against the Bills this year. That was my first time going to your stadium.
Oh, okay.
I'm obsessed.
Third quarter,
it was so much fun. I like loved the security guards. Like that is such a great. Like everything was, and that was a preseason game. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Stop by in the regular season. It's even better.
I know. I rent my towel, renegade. I want the whole thing. Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you stopping by us, Cynthia
Anytime.
Freeland. He is Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh. We're going to get to a break. We'll be back with more here right after this.
Oh, okay.
Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. We are live at the NFL Scouting Combine, and we're pleased to be joined now by Tony Pauline. He joins us every year, and Tony
might have our longest streak going.
Maybe
guests.
so.
Yeah.
Maybe so. A consulting editor and draft analyst for SportsKita.com. What Sportskita? That's a new one for you, right?
It is. It's basically the parent company that bought Pro Football Network, and
okay.
they asked me to come over, and I was okay. It's a work
Let's
in
do it.
progress, but it's great to be back with you guys.
And you're digging into the draft as much as ever, right?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Not enough of it gets up as far as I'm concerned, but then not enough of it will ever get up as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah.
So, Tony, we've talked a lot about this draft and the depth of this draft.
Right.
Offensive tackle, cornerback,
Yep.
maybe as deep as those two positions have been in several years. Maybe not the top-end talent at cornerback, but just the depth of players available.
I like this draft in the sense that every year I struggle to get 18 guys with pure first-round grades on them.
We were just talking about this. I'm curious what you think.
And I think this year I've got like 24
Okay.
guys
Wow.
that
Okay.
got first-round grades. Now, the flip end of that is I'm struggling to get 255
the back end
guys
the back end's a little soft.
with,
Sounds like
with draftable grades.
Yeah.
That's going to change next year because the COVID year ends next year.
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen is there's going to be a flood of players who have no eligibility left.
Yeah.
I mean,
And not many juniors declared this year either.
because of
Just other than
NIL. That was what I was
right.
going to say is the COVID plus the NIL deals have kind of changed the landscape. So, but I like the top
And it's hurt
end
the
of draft.
depth, is what you think, more than anything.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
But day three
that'll
guys.
end next year
Okay.
because the COVID ends next year. If you were
We're done with 6-year players and
right,
craziness.
seventh year
Yeah,
seniors,
yeah.
exactly. So if you were a freshman, if you played as a freshman in 2021, you don't get that COVID year, extra year.
Okay, so we're out of the woods on that finally.
Correct.
Okay, makes
Yeah.
sense. So
Go ahead.
at 20, corner seems very in play for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Do you have a pecking order with your corners?
Still to be determined. I still like Kool-Aid McKinstry,
Okay.
number one. I think the guy to watch for the Steelers and the guy that's moving up boards is Quinyon Mitchell of
yeah.
Toledo. I mean, he's not a flash in the pan. He's been a good cornerback for several seasons at Toledo.
Had a great Senior Bowl.
Phenomenal Senior Bowl.
Yeah,
Phenomenal. Got beat once in one-on-ones at the end of practice when he slipped out of his transition and Roman Wilson made a catch that really wouldn't have been a catch because he was out of bounds. It's the only time I saw him. And the thing about Mitchell is, if you watch him at Toledo, sometimes it's tough to scout him because no one threw in his direction.
Yeah.
And he was playing backed off the line of scrimmage. And one of the things about the Senior Bowl is they have you playing press. They have you playing man-to-man because that's what you're playing on Sunday.
Right.
And he did a great job of it.
That was the only question coming to Senior Bowl, really.
That's
right?
it.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about it is we interviewed him. I interviewed him with the New York Giants. And he said he was outspoken about it. He was very calm about it. He says he's coming to the Combine to set world records. So let's see what his 40 time is. Let's see what his vertical jump is because he's got the size. You know he's got the ball skills. And now if his testing numbers match up, he could, and I wrote about this at the Senior Bowl, he could eventually be the number one cornerback selected in the draft.
That's what I was asked. Could he pass Arnold or DeJean? I mean, they're kind of clustered now to begin with.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Wiggins as well from Clemson.
Right.
This guy's on the upswing. And, cornerback is a priority position. As you well know, Steelers stole a cornerback at the top of round 2 last year. So I think it's a definite possibility. I still like Kool-Aid McKinstry. I know people are down on him, but Mitchell's a guy to watch.
We've had a man crush on DeJean since we started learning about him.
The thing about DeJean is, I mean, he didn't play in his Senior Bowl. He was injured. I don't know if he's going to be a cornerback or a safety. He looks a little stiff to me.
Okay.
I don't know. I saw him at the podium. I don't know if he's going to do the position drills here. I know he's not doing the testing. But, it's you want to see the hip movement. You want to see the flexibility. Can he transition without losing any momentum? The plant. I don't know if DeJean was a great cornerback in college or an opportunistic cornerback in college, and I think there's a difference.
Okay, interesting.
I just think that's a guy you can add to the equation.
Right.
And figure it out. He'll play somewhere because of the ball skills.
As well as the return skills.
Yeah.
So, he's a great athlete who is developing as a defensive back, as a cornerback, maybe safety. But I think right now Mitchell's got it all going on.
Okay.
In terms of the offensive tackles, how do you have those guys kind of?
We also think that could be a play at 20.
Absolutely. I mean, I still like Fashanu. I know a lot of people like Alt. I like Alt. I just like Fashanu better because I like those mobile, athletic left tackles. I like Tyler Guyton, who had a good Senior Bowl. Fuega of Oregon State. Then, I mean, you know.
Some have said Fuega's a guard. I don't see that at all.
Well, that's only probably because he's not 6'6".
Yeah.
You know, he's 6'4"
doesn't fines for arms and right.
But, I mean, if you watch them on tape, you watch them at the Senior Bowl. The only time those guys got beat at the Senior Bowl was by Adisa Isaac of Penn State. Then the question is, you know, if all those guys are going to 20 and Amarius Mims of Georgia staring to face.
We've kind of gone back and forth on him.
You know, he doesn't have a big body of work. I think he only started 8 games.
Yeah. That's what kind of scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
But he was dominant those 8 games.
I mean, he's got traits like
and you could then move Broderick Jones back to his natural position at left tackle. Just keep Mims at right tackle. I like his film when there is film. But there's just not that much of it.
I mean, back-to-back super talented Georgia tackles could go a long way.
And he's, you know, he's basically Broderick Jones with power. He's a powerful guy. He's probably not as good on the second or third level, but he's not bad blocking in motion.
Okay.
But I mean, Jackson Powers Johnson was. I think he has to be in play at 20 as well.
If he's not play, you know, it's or the Dolphins will take him, I think, where they select. I mean, he was hurt when he played this. He came to the Senior Bowl injured. He had the dominant first day. He was good the second day. He's out the third day. But let's forget about the Senior Bowl for a while. 2022, he was a terrific right guard at Oregon. He kicked inside to center after Forsythe left, and Forsythe had a good season. Was outstanding. He's smart. He's big, but he's also mobile. He's not a stiff.
For a guy that size to be as mobile as he is rare.
I was shocked what he weighed in at after watching him just on TV casually on Saturdays.
I will tell you, a guy that the Steelers like, you're looking at day 2, and I've heard this for a couple of months now, is Isaiah Adams of Illinois, who also had a couple of real good days of Senior Bowl practice.
Give us a thumbnail on him. I don't think we've brought him up yet.
You should. He played tackle and guard at Illinois. He was out of place at tackle because he's not a mobile guy. But you want to talk about a tough, nasty Pittsburgh Steeler type of interior offensive lineman that looks to bury people into the ground. That's an outstanding run blocker that has enough ability to get out on the second level, redirect your linebacker, take him from the action. That is a guy on day 2 to definitely look at, and I've known that they like him. I mean, he's a guy that has just grown on me. The more film I watch him, and then when I watch him 3 days at the Senior Bowl, destroy everybody.
Is center too much of a projection for him? I mean, is he probably a guard?
Right now, I don't know that he's ever taken a snap.
Right,
I think tackle. I think more. You know, people may project him more at tackle, but he's not even that good. He's a real good power gap guard.
Okay, that would fit.
Yeah, absolutely. This wide receiver group is pretty deep as well. I mean, you mentioned Wilson from Michigan. He was great at the Senior Bowl, and he's looked at as a round 2 type guy.
Right, round 2 or round 3. I mean, I guess the first thing is Steelers going to keep Deontay Johnson?
I think so.
Could he be on the block?
You keep hearing it, this doesn't add up to us, to be honest.
Doesn't make sense. Why create another hole?
True, but I think it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than what goes on the field. So we'll see about that. But yeah, Roman Wilson, I think, is indicative of what we're seeing at the wide receiver position these days. Marvin Harrison is who he is. He's a great prospect, but you know, more and more you're seeing the receivers become a little bit more compact, become a little bit smaller. You don't have to be 215 pounds anymore. You don't have to run a 4.3. You got to run great routes, and you got to separate, and you got to get free, and you got to be able to create running after the catch. And Roman Wilson does all that, plus he brings the aspect of return specialist.
You mentioned Marvin. I mean, would Roman Neighbors be the first receiver off the board 8 out of 10 years?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I would go Neighbors then Roma Duze.
Okay.
Because Neighbors is quicker. He separates easier. He's also better running after the catch.
More explosive to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
More of a downfield threat. Duze is a terrific player. I mean, when McMillan went down at Washington, he took over. The only reason they're probably in that championship game or in the playoffs is because that 4th and 23 that reverse he ran for on 4th down for 23 yards. So, you know, he leads by example, and he's a real good receiver.
Okay. What's your pecking order with the quarterbacks? I don't think that applies to the Steelers, to be honest with you, but do you have a clear favorite?
Clear, I like Williams more than Jaden Daniels and then Drake May.
Okay.
Jaden Daniels, you know, I liked him. When I watched the film, I absolutely loved him. I mean, he's a guy who was a better quarterback in 2023 than he was in 2022. And even in 2023, you saw him get better and better. He's smart. He's athletic. He's got a big-time arm. He can make all the throws. He can run with the ball, but he's not reckless running the ball. The only thing is he's a skinny guy. He's not a big Ben Roethlisberger, statuesque in the pocket type of passer, which may turn some people off. He's got it going on between the ears. He's got the physical skills, and he's just shown such tremendous progress, especially the past 2 years. And then it's Drake May, who I think maybe you can make the argument that 2 or 3 years Drake may be a better quarterback than Jaden Daniels, but you can also have to say that he's got a bigger bust factor than Jaden Daniels.
Is Nick's your 4?
Or
Penix
J.J. McCarthy.
Oh, McCarthy, yeah.
J.J. McCarthy.
Okay.
But I don't rate, J.J. McCarthy and Bo Nix, they could go first round. I have second-round grades on them.
Okay. There's a lot of buzz about McCarthy. He's definitely going the first round, and that seems like a stretch to me.
It does.
Yeah.
But it's quarterback.
That's it. There you go.
Yeah.
If he was a linebacker, then no, right. And J.J. McCarthy, he's got great mocks. He's got great confidence. He's a tremendous quarterback on the college level, but you're projecting to the NFL. He's not a big guy. He doesn't have a huge arm. I watch a lot of the passes, and a lot of those risky passes he made on Saturday are going to be interceptions on Sunday. And then, of course, they really didn't rely on him.
He wasn't the engine of the offense.
Right. I mean, it was that offensive line that went 7 deep, which helped the running game, which helped protect McCarthy.
Yeah, it makes it definitely interesting. Tony, we're going to let you go here so we can finish up the show here, but we appreciate your time as always. That is Tony Pauline of sportskita.com. Check out that. He is the draft analyst for that and consulting editor. Lots of good stuff.
Joins us every year. Much appreciated.
Tony's been covering the draft, since Led Zeppelin was in their prime.
There you go.
That's how I get started.
We could do a show on that.
Yeah,
right?
we could.
There you go. But we always appreciate Tony stopping by and getting his thoughts on this particular draft and each year, and good stuff as usual. But Matt, we're just about ready to wrap up here as well.
Yeah, I'll be back at 2 to 4, and I'll be part of the Blitz. We did the trade
blitzing today. I'll be joined when we
this is like the upside down.
Get to the break here. It is kind of like the upside down. When we take the break here, we'll go to.
You got a lot of good stuff.
You'll
coming
jump
up while
out,
I'm gone,
and
right?
Jerry Dulac and Max Starks will jump in here with us, and we'll take you up until 2 o'clock, and then Omar Khan, the Steelers general manager.
Yeah, so you got a packed 2 hours coming up while I'm gone.
Absolutely. We'll get to hear what Omar has to say about the teams. This is the first time we've had an opportunity this offseason to hear from Omar. So
Right, and a lot going on. So.
Yeah, looking forward to that as well. Matt,
Thanks,
when the smoke clears from this week, what do you think our main takeaway from this whole process is going to be?
That's a big item there. But I think, we've been speculating for a while what's the best path, in order to get everything you possibly can. And things like defensive linemen have tripped me up a little bit. How's the best way to address that position group? But I think you'll see better clusters, kind of like we did last segment where, there's 4 to 7 second-round linebackers. Let's go fishing there, and let's use free agency accordingly. This week makes that a lot clearer, where the pockets are that you want to be fishing and where you don't.
Yeah, and I think we'll get a much better idea of that kind of stuff. And I like what Tony had to say there. With 24 guys at the first-round grade, and usually you're looking at like 16 to 18.
We've been mentioning that, but it was good to hear it from another source.
Yeah, it wasn't just my thoughts on this. This is a guy who does this for a living.
Yeah.
That
you don't want 18 when you're sitting at 20. You want to hear
23.
Right,
you want to hear 23, 24. And that's why I think this draft sets up so well for the Steelers.
Me too.
That, no matter what seems to happen, when we do our mock drafts, there's always somebody there
that you're very comfortable with.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. And that's where I was going to go to is often there's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Who knows how it goes, and this will change. But moving from 20 to 24
might
might not hurt
McCarthy
you at all.
goes in that top 15 or wherever, that pushes somebody else down.
If Chop Robinson happens to go in there,
that
something like that, all of a sudden you're like,
down.
great. Or another both defensive tackles. So, I think, they were really did a nice job last year with that extra pick, the Porter pick.
Yeah.
That if you could maybe go from 20 to 23 to 25 and pick up another day 2 pick and – they packaged to move up at one point too. With Broderick Jones. I'd love to see him add something else on day 2. If possible, or just sit there and be very comfortable with who falls to you.
Yeah, I just think that in this particular draft, where it's not like last year. You know, if you look at what happened last year, there were I think 3 tackles. I want to say that
Johnson, Jones, and Wright.
And there was another one that was there. Broderick Jones was the 4th tackle taken.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Johnson went to the Cardinals. Wright went to the Bears.
Oh, what's his face with the Titans?
They call him a tackle. Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's what kind of precipitated
Northwestern.
The Steelers moving up, because they looked at it as, okay, there's these 4 tackles that we would take in the first round.
And the Jets were looming.
And it may have only been 3 because, you know, a lot of people looked at Skoronski as an interior guy.
Yeah, they usually go super quick. That's why this year's insane.
This year, right. You know, you could be sitting there going, "Oh, we got 6 or 7 tackles that we think are first-round guys."
Yeah, I mean, hypothetically, you know, Mims is your number 6, but okay, that's not so bad.
Some years he might be number 2.
Right. I mean, it'd be interesting to put this group of tackles mixed in with Broderick's class and rank them 1 to 10. You know, I mean, it's pretty strong.
Absolutely.
7/10 of them are this year.
Same thing with cornerbacks. Porter last year was the 4th cornerback taken at 32.
Okay.
He's picked at 32. There'll be more than 4 taken in the first 32 picks this year.
I think so, too. And I wanted to ask more about it, but you know, Tony's top guy was still Kool-Aid, and that's one of the few people I've heard say that. Not that he's right or wrong, but, I mean, if he's right there with the DeJeans and, you know, Mitchells and those guys, too, I think you're definitely going to get 5.
Yeah,
you might
absolutely.
Get 7.
So, again, you know, when you start counting off those
Rake
picks,
drawing.
you know, 19 picks before the Steelers pick, well, if you got 6 or 7 offensive tackles, you got 4 or 5 cornerbacks, and you know the quarterbacks are going to go. You know the wide receivers are going to go. And fills those spots up pretty quickly, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
You're going to get a pretty good player. You're going to get a good player at 20.
I don't know 20 is much worse than 15.
Yeah.
Or all that much better than 23 or 24.
That's the beauty. The other beauty of this draft is I don't know that. I think when you're talking about that line of delineation, when you're talking about the true first rounders, usually like, okay, these are the blue chip guys, and then there's some guys here. These are the next group, and they're not quite as good.
Yeah.
I think everybody's kind of in that same.
Oh yeah.
Class.
I mean, I'm not trying to like embellish this, but a Guyton, for example, or a Mims could be right there with Darnell Wright.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, are they really that much different? I mean, there just happen to be fewer of them last year.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think that's its ball. But again, the draft itself not as deep.
No.
Overall.
No. I mean, the late rounds, I think, are going to be
like you're
scraping the bottom of the barrel.
125, 140 players that.
And maybe teams will draft long snappers and punters and things like that.
Or trade away picks this year for next year for, you know, teams that are looking to.
The teams that are on the hot seat.
We still need another safety. Let's get another pick here and see if we can get that guy.
It wouldn't shock me if the Steelers end up drafting a punter or a running back or something that you don't think is a draftable position for where they're at, just because there's a lot of them, and as opposed to taking an undraftable type player.
Yeah, guy that may not make your roster. Take a guy that's at least going to contribute in some way.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Which again is another reason I'd love to get a day 2 pick somehow if possible, because I don't know that you can count on hitting gold. You know, 5.
Or you know, if you're sitting there and you didn't get somebody in the first 3 rounds, and you have those 2 4th-round picks. If you can package a 4 and a 6 to move up a little bit to get somebody that you really covet.
Go get a receiver that you like or whatever. That extra 4th goes a long way too.
Yeah, absolutely. But Matt, that's going to do it for our version or our part of the day here. So that's going to do it for the drive for today. We'll be back tomorrow to finish up our coverage here at the NFL Scouting Combine. But Matt's going to jump out. We'll have Jerry Dulac and Max Starks jumping in here. And as I said earlier, we'll hear from Steelers General Manager Omar Khan later on this afternoon. So can't wait for that. But that's going to do it for the drive today here on Steelers Nation Radio and Fox Sports Pittsburgh. We are live at the NFL Scouting Combine. We'll be back with more here, but not with Matt, right after this.